Hey guys, hello, welcome to Naveed for Speed. I just wanted to make this video about the Honda Civic because I've had this car for a week now and it's due to go back to Honda tomorrow. And as you can see, the sun is going quite low. It's coming to the end of the day. It's coming to the end of my week with this car. And I just wanted to take a moment just to show you some of the features of this car which I like and some of the features of this car which I don't like. Just in general, things about this car which you should know, what I found quite interesting about this car. So let's start with an exterior feature of the car. So one of the interesting things about this car is the side profile of it, is the dimensions of it, and that influences the way this car feels to drive. So the car is 455 centimeters long, it's 180 centimeters wide, and it's only 141 centimeters tall. So it's quite a low slung car. You can see that from the body lines, from the low bonnet. You can see this strong shoulder line that goes along the side of the car. So in general, it's quite hunkered down. The way that Honda described it is ground hugging. It hugs the ground. It has this sort of stance, and I think that makes it quite agile because especially with these tires that it has on it, the Michelin Pilot Sport tires, when you're driving around, it really sticks to the ground really well, and it gives you a nice dynamic driving feeling in general. I think overall, that's a good point of this car. At the back, you'll notice this sloping roofline. It gives the car a coupe look, but of course it still has 4 doors. It still gives you all the practicality. It adds to the silhouette of the car, makes it look quite sporty, especially since it is still quite a low car. I think that looks really good. As we open the boot and we go in here, now first thing you'll see is this big opening that you get. Makes it really easy to load big things in and out of the car. But what you'll also notice is this cover, this boot cover, which you can put on, and it's a little bit unconventional, I think, in its design, but I believe it's designed to be used with one hand. And I wasn't quite convinced before, but there you are. I am using it with one hand. It is pretty easy to use with one hand. In the boot, you'll also notice you have this boot floor. This boot floor, which is actually really useful. You can see I've got there's been a little bit of mess on there, but it's quite easy to just be able to hose this down. And you can even use the boot without the boot floor. If you have a look in here, you still get this sort of fabric material. And if you want to protect that, you can just put this in there. Back here, you get 410 liters of boot space, which I think is plenty. I'm quite surprised at how much space, how much practicality this car has to offer. But yeah, you get 410 liters of boot space. And in this advanced version of the car, this top spec, you only get 404 liters of boot space. You lose 6 liters because of the subwoofer. I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the stuff inside the car, the sound system and all that. But that's the sort of boot space you get. But that's plenty. You also will notice this cover up here, which you can take off as well. That's gonna fly away. Let's put that back on there. This can't be done with one hand, I don't think. So yeah, there's that. But one thing that I do like is these handles. You grab these handles, you can either grab them out here or you can grab them under here as well. And there's one on either side. So if you want to close the boot like this, you can do it like that. Or if you choose to just use the handle at the back, you can close the boot like that as well. So that's quite convenient, that's quite easy. Let's go inside and I'll show you some of the features in the car which I like and I don't like. The rear seats of the Honda Civic are actually quite nice, a nice place to be. I didn't mention the rear seats in my other video. I have made another video of this car, and in that video I talk about the exterior, the interior, and I take this car out to drive. It's a bit more of an extensive review of the car. So if you want to watch that video, make sure you click the link up here and you can go and see that video. But in this video, I'm just talking about some of the features and some of the things that you should know if you're looking to buy this car. And one of those things is the rear seats. You will probably have passengers, you might have children, family members, friends in the car back here. There might be a day where you're sat back here and somebody else is driving you. What is it like back here? First and foremost, you'll notice that there isn't a lot of light back here, but that's because this car is spec'd with the rear privacy glass. So it is quite dark, but it is quite private back here because when you look at this car from the outside, it is actually really difficult to see inside the car. So that's a bonus. When it comes to space you get back here, this isn't a wide car. It's 1.8 meters wide. So you can't expect there to be a lot of shoulder room in the car. I think for 2 adult passengers, maybe 1 child passenger in the middle, it should be comfortable. 3 adult passengers might struggle when it comes to shoulder room. Headroom now, obviously with this being a bit of a coupe sloping roofline car, what's headroom like? Well, actually, I'm quite surprised. Yes, if I sit up and I lean back, I lean all my head back, then I'm touching the ceiling. But in general, I'm not going to be sat like this upright all the time. So right now, I haven't even got a sense that the roof's here as you know, it's not even you know, in my eye line kind of thing. It just, you know, like when you sort of second guess that it's there, it's not even there. I'm not feeling it. I've got loads of headroom. So I'm actually quite surprised with that headroom. And for reference, I'm 5'11", and that's totally fine. Legroom, again, I'm sat behind the driver's seat because I've set the driver's seat to my own preference, and I've got loads of leg room. I can stretch my feet all the way up underneath the driver's seat, although that seat does, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to expect to put my feet all the way fully under, but yeah, I can even sort of slouch down a little bit, put my knees out. I've got, yeah, loads of leg room. You also get back here, you probably won't be able to see because of the lighting, you get USB charging ports back here. Traditional USB charging ports, not none of that USB-C charging ports, because even though that is the way now that is the new system that everybody's using, a lot of people still use these USB, I think the USB type A chargers ports. I use these. That's really convenient. And of course, I'll have to mention, you get an armrest with 2 cup holders in the middle, 1 cup holder slightly smaller than the other. Not a lot of room underneath the armrest if you want to store some stuff in. I know some cars sort of sit prominent up like this, you could store stuff underneath there. But yeah, that's what you have back here. And the last thing I'll mention before we move on to the front of the car is this gloss black inserts in the door, which you will see in the front doors as well. That's a feature of this advanced version of the car. You don't get that in any of the lower specs, so that just adds a little bit more to the car. Let me show you some of the stuff in the front of the car, which I quite like. If you are buying the Honda Civic, then chances are this is where you're going to spend most of your time, in the driver's seat, in the front cabin. And let me tell you what this is like. So I want to start with this leather that you get in this car, because depending on which version of the car you'll get, you can get different interior. So with the entry-level elegance version, you get fabric interior. With the mid-level sport version, you get fabric / leather. I think it's synthetic leather that you get. But with this top spec version, you get a mixture of synthetic leather. That's a tongue twister. Synthetic leather and genuine leather. And you also get genuine leather on the steering wheel as well. So, you know, the heat from the steering wheel, from the seats, it feels really good. But to me, it feels a little bit old school. It feels like, do you remember when I drove the Nissan Skyline R34? That had Connelly leather in it. And my back and my bum, that's kind of, I'm sort of getting the same feeling as that. Maybe it's a Japanese thing, but I think purely this is just a bit of a choice just to have genuine leather in this car, and it does feel quite nice anyway. So let me tell you about the infotainment system, because it's this 9-inch screen which has this sort of app arrangement over here. I quite like it. It's quite intuitive. It's easy to get used to. You've got, you know, all your buttons here. It's not the most responsive, but at the same time, it's not unresponsive. When you click your navigation, you will find that it might take a short while. You know, there's a slight delay between what you click and the output. Right here, you'll notice I'm in a car park right now because I'm in Asda car park, because I thought I'd quickly come here and make this video just to show you guys some of the features of this car, which I think you might be interested in. So if you just go back to home here, you'll notice, well, you've got these physical buttons over here for some of the shortcuts, including your volume over here. It is quite easy to use, easy to reach whilst you're sat here from the driver's seat. You know, it's you can see this from a point of view of the driver. It is really easy to use. Down here, you've got some shortcuts as well in the sort of ribbon bar. Now, those have been placed there just because they are the functions that people will tend to use more often. Now, I don't know if they change based on a user's, you know, your preference, based on what you use more often. So, for example, if you tend to use the phone more often than the navigation, will they swap places? I don't know. But what I do know is these are the different functions that Honda have decided that people will use more often. And to be fair, they are what I have been using, apart from the navigation, because this car has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, albeit the Android Auto is a wired system and the Apple CarPlay is a wireless system. You'll also see down here you've got the physical climate control buttons over here. Again, very intuitive, very easy to use. Fan speed on or off. You've got your temperatures over here. If you want to use the passenger one for dual zone climate, you can just use that one and then you can just click it to sync them back up. Again, physical buttons over here. Heated seats. You get heated seats as well. And of course, you've also got your heated steering wheel, which is this button over here. I'll very quickly show you this last feature here in the infotainment system. This screen over here is the reversing camera and the reversing parking sensors, because if I stick the car into reverse over here, you'll notice I am near an obstacle and the parking sensor is flashing up to say that I'm near an obstacle. I can hear audibly how close I am to the obstacle, and that sound does start to go faster or slower depending on how far or close you are to the obstacle. But you'll notice this little bar down here that just flashes up. That does not give me much indication of how close or how far I am from that obstacle behind me. If you want to know that, then you have to look here on the instrument cluster, where you can see there it's showing in yellow. That changes color depending on how close you are from green, yellow to red, depending on how far you are from the obstacle behind you. So I think that could have been done in a better way over here in the parking camera. So that's quite interesting. Let me tell you about this sort of center console area here, and specifically the switch gear area, or at least these buttons for the drive mode selector, because normally you'll imagine that they come in like a rotary dial, or they come in like a gear stick sort of, you know, you can just, you know, the Prindle sort of a stick that you move up and down. But in this car you get individual buttons. Now again, there are cars out there that have individual buttons laid up over here in the dashboard where it's, you know, left to right, but this I don't usually like those ones. This I quite like because the drive mode button is here. It's easy, you know, it's front and center, really easy to click. Reverse is this button here that you sort of push back, because kind of makes sense because you're going backwards. That works as well. So overall, I think even though it's a little bit unconventional, I quite like the switch gear area here. Cup holders. Now let me get onto the cup holders, because you got two cup holders over here, one slightly higher than the other. These cup holders can fit larger, you know, thicker bottles as well, but they also claim to be able to fit thinner bottles. You can use these little features, these plastic things over here, to sort of get smaller bottles stuck in there. It sort of grabs them into place. My experience of that hasn't been great. I've seen bottles, you know, move about all over the place in there, so they're not the most reliable. Moving on, you'll notice over here we're talking about drive modes. Let's talk about drive modes. So when it comes to drive modes, there are a few different drive modes that you get in this car. You've got your ordinary, your normal mode, you've got your econ mode, you've got your sport mode, and then you've got your individual mode. Now generally what they tend to do is they tend to change the throttle response. So in your econ mode it will be a little bit more delayed. In the sport mode you might get that a little bit more rapid response. But I found that even in normal mode, I mean, I've kept the car mostly normal mode in this last week, I still get loads of performance and I still get loads of economy as well, because when you are using the regen, you get loads of that battery power come back, which you can use later on as well. So, you know, that's really quite convenient, which makes me move on to fuel economy. Now, again, I've had this car for a week. What has my fuel economy been like? Well, in my previous video, I did mention that the claimed fuel economy of this car is 60 miles per gallon combined. Now that's not strictly true, because that is the case for the entry-level elegance version, but for this top spec advanced version it's actually closer to 55 or 56 miles per gallon claimed, and I suspect that's because this car is slightly heavier than that car. But what has been my experience been? I've had low 50s. That's been a mixture of motorway driving and it's been city driving. It's not been the most economical driving. I have to admit, this car can be quite addictive when it comes to accelerating, when it comes to going around corners. It has, you know, it's quite grippy, it's quite fun, it's quite exciting. So I'm still really surprised that I've got around 50 or just over 50 miles per gallon. So I really quite like that. How does it feel when you're driving this car? I want to mention about this interior. Now, this interior, I did mention it's got leather, it's got plastic, it's got loads of different materials. You've got your gloss black features over here with your honeycomb plastic grille in there. But what I found is, as I've been driving along, occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally, I hear a bit of rattling inside here, particularly coming from sort of this region next to the driver's side, next to the driver's shoulder rather, on the door area, just the sort of plastic bits over here where the seat belt is. But I've also been hearing that on the passenger side as well, and it sort of comes and goes from either side. So I don't know what that is, but there might be a slight issue with refinement there. But I do have to mention, in fairness, the rest of the interior when it comes to refinement is actually really on point. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. And generally, you will probably be listening to music with these premium Bose sound system, the speakers that you get around this car in this top spec version of this car. So yes, you get the premium Bose sound system here as well. So that's really quite convenient. The last thing that I have to mention about this car, which I think you should know, is the Honda Sensing System. So what is a Honda Sensing System? Well, over here, just on top of the windscreen, you have a camera. That camera has a 100 degrees field of view, and it can detect stuff coming up ahead, and that's what's used for this safety systems in this car. Your lane keep assist, your adaptive cruise control, all that sort of stuff. I think that's really quite convenient. It flashes up on the instrument cluster in front of you in terms of where cars are placed around you. I think it's been really good to use. But I do have to mention the intrusive safety features, because I was driving on the motorway. I went on a journey to Sunderland and back, which took around 2 hours each way. And occasionally the intrusive systems were detecting that I wasn't holding the steering wheel, even though I had both hands on the steering wheel. You'll also find that as you're driving along, sometimes you might move over into sort of the middle of the road. There might be cars parked to the left-hand side of you. There might be some hazard, and you sort of move over. The car will try and push you a little bit back into the center of the lane, which is not good. Same is also the case if sometimes you're driving along, there's a car parked and you have to move out. It might think you're about to go into the car. Whilst that is quite good, it's quite safe, it's quite proactive, it can be a little bit intrusive. But again, I also do have to mention that it's not that strong when it tries to throw you back in the road or throw you back into the lane. So again, it's nice to know that it's there. I generally do feel like that when it comes to safety systems in cars in general. But I do feel like if it was dialed down just one more, that would have been perfect, I think. But otherwise, I've had an amazing time with this car's safety systems, with the adaptive cruise control, with all the way, just the way that this package comes around together. And I think it certainly is an attractive car, good looking car, good performance, good fuel economy, good practicality, great to drive. What more do you need? I think overall it's a brilliant car. And if you're interested in buying one, let me know in the comments if you are. Let me know what spec you're going for. I quite like this advanced spec. But anyway, I hope that I've given you some information there, some insights into this car. I hope that it has been useful for you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you and take care.